I'm going to talk about stereolithography. Just going to refer to as SLA, so it's much easier to say it. As we know, it's the most used rapid prototyping technology right now. It was actually created, one of the most first commercial machines were created in 1988 by 3D Systems, that was when it was owned by Charles Hull. 40 plus machines, I guess. So there are two types of SLA. So one is a vector based, and the second is a mask based. So the vector-based SLA starts with CAD data being sliced into layers, and then liquid photopolymer is cured by a UV laser. The laser is stationary. Sometimes it's stationary, sometimes it's movable. Mostly they have an XY mirror, dynamic mirror, which moves in to trace the path of the layer which has to be cured. The stage just moves down, which has to equal to the layer thickness of the layer, and then the completed parts need to be post processed, have to be cleaned for supports and machined sometimes for. Second is the mask based. In this one, we don't actually trace the path, but we just project the image of the layer instead of actually the laser going on to trace it. It just displays the image which cures. Here, most of the photocurable resins are used for this, and it can be both top-down or bottom-up approach, which we were talking about in the first class. The bottom-up approach seems to be much more time-saving, and it's actually used in one of the commercial systems, which I'll be talking about later. So in this one, we have it. You use a digital micromirror design. This one is from an ASME paper, which the digital micromirror or any other focusing device can be used for this, like optical fiber or something, which they're kind of researching upon. And the resin is cured, and then the Z stage moves down. Everything is the same thing. The only thing is there is no tracing of the path, and the image directly projected, so it's comparatively more time saving than the traceable thing. So the process features which affect part quality are layer thickness, laser power, or the projector power, whichever you're using based on the type of process. Then the resin properties, so plastic and plastics shrink usually after curing. So the shrinkage prop is one of the most important properties which actually affect the part quality in SLA. And then part orientation. So it depends on that depends on mostly the design aspect. So if some parts will not actually be that good when we actually do it vertical, and some won't be that good when you're doing horizontal, but it is one of the most important properties when we're actually considering quality of the product which you're going to get in the end. The niche, it's this one is more about the available process capabilities, not niche, but as of now what you can get is really smooth texture. They have really high accuracy in their features, very, but it's kind of limited to small parts, even though they are trying to make it big, but the small parts have the maximum accuracy and maximum surface finish, and quick print times depending on type of machine and type of process you're going to use as well. And other process capabilities are they're trying to print out with other materials other than just plastic, with other composites and ceramics and even metals. By the problem is you have only 50 to 60% volume of the metals, while the rest has to be made into a matrix or a slurry of photopolymer or UV curable resin, which has to be there. But in metals and ceramics, it has to be a laser, so because we still need the power when it's. Most of the things I've mentioned here are proprietary materials which are commercially available right now. They have so many types, but no one exactly knows what all of them are. Most of the photopolymers can be used acrylate monomers. Acrylate based monomers can be used to be cured in mask based SLA. ABS, PLA, nylon are used, and the other things, everything else, are given out by 3D Systems, Stratasys, and Formlabs. And there's a lot of case studies where they've used mainly for prototypes because they just need the part as fast as possible for them to test. For in this instance, this is Generac Power Systems. They create power generators. They were having a lot of interference issues with their startup motor components, so they had to test around 12 designs for them to actually come up with a proper design which is going to stop their interference. In their traditional die casting could actually lead to months for them to do a full production scale and then try out every. Even the normal designs, just the 12 of them, is still huge for them to do it. While the SLA was able to produce them in 4 days for them, all the 12 designs, so it's kind of makes it easier for them to do it. And other than this, they're used on a lot of other things, like architects use it to make their full scale, small scale models of their complete structure, since it gives good feature quality, gives them a good idea to actually make changes or try to test all their products and stuff. One of the vendors which I've chosen is 3D Systems. They use both mask-based and vector-based SLA. Kind of split it up into personal, production, and professional level. This one is the project. It's pretty much used in most of the aerospace, automotive, and industrial design departments for their prototypes. It has a build volume of 15 into 15 into 10, which is their least build volume in their professional machines. And it has very good accuracy. It gets around like one thousandth of an inch. So next is their Pro X 800 or 950. This one is their bigger machines. They have a really large production volume. They can make up to like 59 to 13 to 22 inches and a maximum weight of 150 kgs. They claim that they have this is one of the highest precision SLA machines in the market, which can equal a CNC or a zigzag. Can produce both parts as small as an eye of a needle to a real size, life size tiger. They were initially in Valencia, California, and it was created by Chuck Hill, but then later they bought about with someone else. They have around 25 offices in worldwide in many countries like France, Germany, UK, China, Japan, Korea, and most of the big industrial countries you want to look into. Provide both polymer based and metal based 3D printers, and they have around like 50 products as of now. So next one is Formlabs. This is actually a Kickstarter program which made around $3 million. Started a Kickstarter program, and then they turned it into a company. They have around two products, successful products right now. This one is mostly based on SLA, while the Mark IV is based on FDM. This one's a personal 3D printer which uses a mask-based SLA type. It's the same thing as what we were talking about the first class. Through bottom-up projection, it takes lesser time for him to do it. Is their build platform, that's the Z stage. Z stage moves up, separating each layer as it is built. So they say the layer thickness around 25 to 200 microns. They take around like 2 hours to build 200 micron layer with around 100 layers or something. Since they do around 1 to 3 centimeters per hour, it's pretty effective when compared to other mask-based 3D printers which are actually available right now. This one does the job twice as faster as the other one because it's a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. They were founded in 2011 by MIT students, and they started as a Kickstarter program, made 3 million, and they kind of have two models right now. One is the Form 1 and the next is the Form 1 Plus. So these are my references.